no one gives a crap. You got to care about yourself. And if it's meant to be, it's up to me. You got to get yourself up. You got to walk out that front door and you got to make sure you go to work. Nobody knows what you do unless you let them know what you do. Activity will breed activity. I wasn't hoping, because hope's not a strategy. Whatever that work may be and whatever your strategy is and whatever your tactics are, make sure you have a plan, then execute the plan.
Mike, if you were to give advice to somebody jumping into the Medicare space, something you wished you knew day one when you were starting in the industry, where would you go with that?
Go with that with somebody jumping in brand new is I'd make sure that they understand that no one gives a crap. You got to care about yourself. And if it's meant to be, it's up to me. You got to get yourself up. You got to walk out that front door and you got to make sure you go to work. Whatever that work may be and whatever your strategy is and whatever your tactics are, make sure you have a plan, then execute the plan. So many people fail because they think, oh, I got an insurance license. How come my phone's not ringing? Well, I sell Medicare. Why isn't my phone ringing? Nobody knows what you do unless you let them know what you do. So walk out the door each day. Activity will breed activity.
When you were getting started, did you follow that same philosophy? Were you that new agent that was hoping the doors or the phones would ring?
I wasn't hoping, because hope's not a strategy. What I did is I made sure I had a plan, executed the plan, and then stayed consistent with the plan. Within the Medicare space, and I think it's within any sales endeavor, it's not about accepting no. It's about being consistent and accepting a lot of no's, because eventually if you hear a lot of no's, you'll eventually run into your yeses. And that's a little bit old school. It's almost a life insurance approach of, hey, 100 phone calls, I'll get 50 contacts, and you can work down the numbers. In the Medicare space, I find it a little bit more, just walk out the door, ingratiate yourself in the community. It is a relationship business. And if you have relationships and you can develop those relationships, foster those relationships, make those relationships your champions, for the referral machine will feed itself. But you got to get out there and you got to make those relationships.
When you're building a relationship, what are some ways that you feel you can give back and serve within the industry?
That's so great. It's the industry's changed a little bit, is constantly evolved. So after 32 years, it used to be very transactional. We'd transact the business. And now the business has more shifted to more almost a fiduciary type of a business, where you have to be able to serve the business as well. And so we, at the KMI Agency, we have a lot of partners and we have a lot of clients. One client that we serve is we serve the agents. The agents are our clients. The next client that we serve is really the carriers. Are we good partners to United Healthcare? Are we good partners to Scan? Are we good partners to Elevance? Are we good partners to Aetna? And other customers we serve. The other customers we serve are our providers, the medical groups, the doctors. So do we have relationships with those doctors and understand their business needs and can be an extension, a 1099 non-employee extension of their marketing department. And so they're our clients. And then ultimately is the beneficiaries. It's the Medicare beneficiaries that are the ultimate clients. And if we can take all of our spheres of influence and all of our relationships, the doctor, the provider, and the agent, and match those three with the client, at the end of the day, if we're always doing the right thing, the benefit is we make a pretty good living. And so we have lots of clients, but ultimately we all serve the Medicare beneficiary through the doctor, through the carriers, and through the agent. Is that answering your question?
Yeah, no,
Cool.
I think there's always a lot of moving pieces, especially in the Medicare space.
I like to look at it as a puzzle. And if we take all our puzzle pieces and we put them together the right way, it forms a nice cohesive picture. And when I'm recruiting or I'm talking to somebody about the opportunity, that's what I'm about. I'm about trying to take your learning curve from being flat to making your learning curve be a little bit more vertical, because I put together the puzzle 100, 1,000, 10,000 times, whether it's in the training aspect of the agent or whether it's in the training on the delivery. And what I find is the most interesting of all this is most agents, what they lack is not product experience. They don't lack the ability to create rapport. They don't lack the ability to create relationships. Where they lack at is in having basic sales skills. Such as like, do you know what a post-close is? No, what do you mean? How does that sound to you so far? Basic skills like that. And once we can incorporate some of that psychology of even a simple head nod to show submissiveness during a presentation, once we can get into some of that, it starts to click for a lot of agents. And then they understand, I got to go to work. I got to have a plan. I got to create relationships. And then I use some sales techniques, and then the sky becomes the limit.
You're at a unique space right now, being in the industry as long as you have and accomplishing as much as you have. But
Appreciate that. Thanks.
what are some things you look for in a mentor? Like I know Medicare, there's uplines, downlines, FMOs. There's a lot of people that can help. What do you look for in a
Well,
mentor?
there's a lot of alphabet soup in there. And at the end of the day, it's just a lot of different ways to say the same thing. And what's I've kind of come to realize for myself, which has kind of been unique and some self actualization, is before I was always the youngest sales guy. Then I was the youngest sales manager. Then I was the youngest sales director, so on and so forth. And I always had there's no overnight sensations. Always, everybody has a mentor, whether you know it or not, whether you want to give credit to that person or not. There's somebody always helping you kind of push you up the hill. And now what I find the position I'm at is I look around and I'm talking to guys that are in their 30s or guys in their 40s or women in their 40s and in their 30s. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of the mentor now myself. And it's just by, the grace of God that I had a lot of good mentors, and I still do to this day, that give me different insights into the business. One of them is a gentleman that today that's been in the industry. Oh, he started off at Banker's Life. He's probably in his 80s. He's retired. His name's Don Rutherford. We like to call him the Don Father. And Don kind of tells a story about how he kind of created hierarchies and the overrides and the FMOs and the GAs and that whole business. But the biggest thing, when you're looking at all those naming conventions for uplines, one thing I really like to stress to the agents, especially new agents, is I thought I knew insurance. I sold insurance transactionally for 20 years.
Yep.
And I thought I knew the space. I didn't understand the space till I started being a broker manager and then started my own agency. It's really about your contracts. Read your contracts, understand your contracts, ask your contracts, find a mentor that can help you wade through the language of the contract. If you don't understand the contract, it's not there to protect you. It's there to protect the person giving you the contract.
Yeah.
So find a mentor that can help you understand the language in the contract. And again, I'm of the opinion, don't be a captive agent. Own your own book of business so you can own your residual. So if your relationship goes south, you own that book and you can take it with you.
Awesome.
And for the most part of my recruiting, I look for people that have got themselves into bad contracts so I can give them a good contract and start the relationship off from a good foot to begin with.
That was going to be my follow-up question is, have you ever signed a bad contract, or what's the worst contract that you feel you've gotten yourself into, and how did you overcome that?
Well, even though we can call it signing a bad contract, I look at it as I learned what not to sign. I learned to maybe understand it. You can make bad decisions, but we can call those learning opportunities. If you continuously repeat that same blunder, well, then you're not learning, and you need to go back to kindergarten and remember everything I learned in kindergarten. So, and don't make those same mistakes. So yes, I've gotten myself into those contracts like that before where it was a captive contract. I learned real quickly that if the broker's paying me, I don't own that. He owns that, and he's just giving me a spiff off of his because he's getting paid from the carrier. So at the end of the day, I'm always a big proponent of the more you can get paid directly from the carrier, the better off you are. I don't know if I'm really getting into, bad contracts or good contracts. And the reason why, being that I worked at the carrier before and I was manager of agent development, I issued contracts. And so many times an agent will call me up and says, can I go direct or should I go with this FMO? And I would go, well, what type of contract are they offering you? I'm really not going to get involved with your decision, but I can help you disseminate what that contract means. And then you can make your own decision. And so by the time I left the carrier side, I had been involved with contracting and read contracting and understood contracting, which really for my agency took us from this or this to, kind of like this. So I had a lot of experience within contracting. So I did have to have a lot of learning lessons.
Yeah, I love that.
Me too.
I'm sure you've worked with a lot of agents over your time, both from a mentor and also the mentee.
Mm-hmm.
As a leader and as you've developed as a leader, what is the most important trait to you that you feel you need to pass through to those that you're working with?
Authenticity. You need to be authentic. A very common line now is, real language is don't bullshit a bullshitter, right? Be authentic, be who you are. And when you say something, do something. Don't say something and then not follow through. So be authentic, be yourself. That's what the world's about today. There's so many with social media. We can be whoever we want to be. We can, put a moneymaker on the face, put a skinny filter on there, do whatever, you edit it. But at the end of the day, as humans, as opposed to maybe an AI approach, we can still feel the authenticity. People care. And it comes back to, again, something I learned a long time ago. Nobody cares about how much you know until they know about how much you care. So again, another altruism of sales, but it's kind of an altruism because it's withstood the test of time. So again, it's authenticity. Nobody cares about what you know until they know about how much you care.
Well, Mike, it's been a pleasure having you on the Brokers Hot Seat. If anything, go out, care for others, and become the better leader that you can become.
Yeah, yes, sir. Hey, I'm going to take a chance for a cheap plug. If somebody wants to get a hold of me, they can call me directly on my cell phone, and I appreciate the time, so thanks.
Perfect. And then social, do you have a LinkedIn, Facebook, anything like that?
Yeah. You can search me in the LinkedIn. Our new webpage is under construction right now, so I don't want to send you to an old one. That's why one thing when I talk about authenticity, that's why I give my personal cell phone number. I think that's a differentiator for me. There's not very many places in the space where you can call the principal and speak directly to the principal, and the principal knows every single agent within this distribution. And I take a lot of pride in that. Take an extreme amount of pride in I answer my phone and I call folks back.